We begin with one of the most popular newspaper columns from Ann Landers, who is known as Dear Abby, from some time back. It was reprinted by request several times. The title, Rules for Being Human. Rules for being human. You will receive a body. You may like it or hate it, but it will be yours for as long as you live. How you take care of it or fail to take care of it can make an enormous difference in the quality of your life. You will learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time school called life. Each day you will be presented with opportunities to learn what you need to know. The lessons presented are often different from those you think you need. There are no mistakes, only lessons. A lesson is repeated until it is learned. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. When you have learned it, as evidenced by a change in your attitude and behavior, then you can go on to the next lesson. Learning lessons does not end. There is no stage of life that does not contain some lessons. As long as you live, there will be something more to learn. You will forget all this unless you consistently stay focused on the goals you have set for yourself. Everything you've just heard won't mean a thing. I have lately been freshly struck by something Jesus said as recounted in Mark's Gospel. The Ann Landers piece can be placed beside Mark's account. Here is Mark's account. When Jesus got out of the boat, he saw the large crowds, and his heart was filled with pity for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began to teach them many things. His heart was filled with pity for them, so he fed them. No, not this time. His heart was filled with pity for them, so he healed them. No, not this time. He taught them. He sought to save them by enabling them to understand. He called them to learn. Did he succeed? Yes and no. Some learned some of it. Others got most of it. Sadly, some learned nothing. Miss Landers would say that they did not make a mistake when they left still in ignorance. The lesson, the teaching, would be repeated. They would have other chances to get it, to change their attitudes and behavior. In our Proverbs passage, read for us moments ago, wisdom is personified and proclaims to us, nothing you want can compare with me. Two things. Some wisdom is of more importance than other learning. And secondly, we seldom completely grasp really important lessons the first time. We have to keep at it until we get what we need. Landers pointed out that the lessons presented are often different from those you think you need. That brings us back to the latter half of today's title, The Wisdom of Humor. And here I am able to truly compliment this congregation. Of all the churches I've served, you are the most open and welcoming with humor. But for that, you may not have called me here. And if you did, I might not have accepted your call. Fine. So are we very wise to prize humor so much? Or are we just a frivolous, superficial bunch? That's a good question. I believe the vital value of humor is greatly underappreciated. Humor helps us as we attempt to cope with the difference between what should be and what is. That difference in ourselves, our spouses, our churches, can be very difficult to accept, sometimes impossible. Our frustration can move us to scold, blame, or vilify. That intolerance can make both us and our target miserable. Sometimes it can result in physical abuse. Or we can often learn to shake our heads and chuckle and so preserve what is good. Conflict between men and women often begs for some humor. And there were some questions. If a man speaks in the forest, some of you have heard this before. If a man speaks in the forest and there is no woman to hear him, is he still wrong? If a woman speaks in the forest and there is no man to hear her, is she still complaining? What's the difference between government bonds and men? Bonds mature. Why are women's brains cheaper than men's brains? Because women's brains are used. You and your husband don't seem to have an awful lot in common. Why did you get married? I suppose it was the old business of opposites attract. He wasn't pregnant, and I was. I did note that there are no children present. Humor is an absolutely necessary quality in humility, and humility is a central Christian spiritual value. It is vital that we be ready and capable of laughing at ourselves. I think there was a bumper sticker, laugh at yourself before someone else can beat you to it. The lesson that we must not take ourselves too seriously is indispensable for being truly human. And if you spend too much time around people who do take themselves too seriously, you can readily appreciate that wisdom. I well remember the good it did me on one occasion while teaching high school in Massachusetts. I had just finished showing the film, The Last of the Mohicans. No doubt seen that or read the book. And I showed the film to my U.S. history class. As I busied myself putting the video equipment away, a student raised his hand and asked, "Mr. Pruitt, at the end of the film, that elderly Indian said how sad he felt to be the last living member of his tribe, so that at his death, his tribe will have become no more." what tribe was he referring to? Don't ask me why. I answered, well, I don't know. I don't think the film gave that tribe's name. It gets worse. Immediately, another student raised her hand and said, well, Mr. Pruitt, if the name of the movie is The Last of the Mohicans, wouldn't the tribe be the Mohican tribe? I observed the whole class watching me closely to see if I would lose my temper at being so blatantly exposed. Noticing with great regret that no hole in the classroom floor was open to swallow, I responded, well, I knew that. And the class was in an uproar. They laughed. It was one of the finest moments of my teaching career. I have found that response to be invaluable on several other occasions since then. Some years before the Mohican incident, I might not have had the humility and maturity to respond as I did. I'm still, on occasion, prone to taking myself too seriously. As Ann Landers said, the lesson keeps repeating. But I continue to keep learning. I trust all of you do as well. We must never stop. One of the great and underappreciated qualities of Abraham Lincoln was how he continued to learn and mature throughout his life. In his 20s and 30s, he was not yet the great human being that he became, but he kept on becoming. Along the way, when he had learned a marvelous humility, a woman once said to him, Mr. Lincoln, I think you might be the ugliest man I've ever seen. To which he replied, well, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I don't think there's anything I can do about it. The woman responded, well, you could stay home. Lincoln smiled, chuckled, and went about his business, becoming our greatest president. Part of that greatness was that he knew when not to take himself too seriously. Hopefully, you and I do too. And let us never, ever be apologetic for our love of humor during our services. Thank you.